We suck again. Oh, we suck again.
Noel Nation, welcome back to another instant reaction live right here on the Voice of College Football post-game show. We're live to you here from good old Milton, Florida. A little bit of deja vu, guys. A little bit of more of the same as the Noles moved to 1-7. Man, really tough to watch that game. Luke Cromenhawk continued to show some flashes. Brock Glenn gets the start again, but I believe he only got 2 series before they put Luke in there. He really made some plays. There weren't a ton of drops early on in the game. One big one by Hakeem, you may not even call it a drop, just kind of not on the same page. He broke a little bit earlier on the route. Or it was like almost like he misadjusted to it in the air. He just misjudged the route. That was a big play early on. The one big offensive drive, Florida State goes down and gets a touchdown. Our guy Luke really showed off his wheels, his athleticism, as the kind of announcers talked about over and over again as my dog goes crazy in the background. So that was the one kind of big highlight of the game, was that one big, it was like a 60-yard rush by Luke. They end up getting in the end zone. I swear, I promise I won't talk about Toafili for the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game or the post game here. But yeah, just a whole lot of the same of what we've seen all year. They really tried to get Lloyd McCoy and Elijah Moore going in this game, so happy to see that. But you kind of get what you get with the freshman tight ends and the freshman wide receivers. The seniors have been dropping the ball all year, so you want to see these guys get a chance, but they're not exactly clutch players yet at this point in time in their career. Miami had some pretty damn good linebackers. We talked about the matchups as far as the secondaries and what Florida State needed to do in this game to have a chance to win. If you watched our show on Friday over at the Renegade Report, it played out pretty much how I called it, just the offense couldn't get things done. There was opportunities to be made in the passing game. It didn't come together. Luke made some good throws, as I said. Florida State's offense against that defense, there's so many things. I know people weren't too happy with not kicking a field goal late, going for it on so many fourth downs. Mike Norvell it feels like he almost gave up there in the second half. The defense really had started figuring some things out. It's easy in hindsight to say he should have punted on those fourth downs, but he converted 2 or 3 of them. Really got some momentum there going from that, so I can't blame him too much for those. But it was just really tough. It's hard to judge this defense based on a game that Mario Cristobal is going to call, the game that anybody's going to call against this team. If you're not going to push it, they're going to keep running the ball. They'll give me 1 second to shut this dog up. It's driving me nuts. Sorry about that, guys. But he just got to go on my lap. Yeah, tough to watch. It's easy to sit back and question those decisions to go for it on fourth down and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, people have to make a play. I promise I'm going to go on a rant about Toafili, but I promised y'all I wouldn't do it in the first 10 minutes. Even leaving him out of it, you're in the second half, you're trying to get a drive together, got a few positive things that happen. You come out, you run it with him on first down, Lawrence Toafili. He gets 6 yards. That's fine. You bring the next guy in, Keziah Holmes. Keziah Holmes really showed me something there. You dropped him, you handed him the ball 2 or 3 times, and then he's off the field. It's like Mekhi Danzy gets out there and gets a handoff. Now, Mekhi Danzy's supposed to be the Lawrence Toafili on the offense, a tailback, not a running back. But he gets a carry. I don't understand why every drive you have to have 4 or 5 running backs touch the ball. Why they won't kind of lean on somebody. And I'll get into that more later. But I thought You saw flashes on the offense. If there's one thing I will say, us being in this game for that entire first half and getting to watch Luke do his thing, that was probably the most fun I've had watching FSU football all year. As gut wrenching as it was, and the bigger the knot kept getting into the third quarter, and then it's over with. Like, yeah, that all sucked. But I think a kind of a conversation we can have right here before I start hammering into the things that I didn't like to see on the field. I think Brock probably lost his job. Curious what you guys think about that, but I think the reason that you saw Luke come out last game, I was kind of thinking, hey, I don't know exactly how far into the installation of the offense and learning everything Luke needs to know he is, given the fact this is only his third year playing quarterback, all the things that you guys heard on the broadcast, and I've told you over and over again. They were talking about coaching him up on the sidelines and Malik Benson drawing out plays with him and things like that. I think him getting reps with the first team for a full week would be a big help. I feel like he's earned that shot to start a game, to go in there, and at this point of the season, the development of these guys. There comes a point when you hear football players talk, the ones that I've talked to, different things I've watched over the years. They all kind of say, as you get closer and closer to championship weekend, these true freshmen, they start turning into pretty much sophomores or redshirt freshmen. A kind of, click will go off. We already saw that light bulb go off a bit for Luke, with him getting on the field the past 2 games. So, yeah, he's got at least 2 more games to burn. So whether you do it in the next 2 games or whether it's that third game, I hope he gets a chance to start, see what you got there. And, yeah, one major bright spot on this team is Luke Krummenhoek. I don't buy the rumors he's thinking about transferring or anything of that nature. Big Luke Krummenhoek fan, so shouts out to him. I believe it was Sam Singleton on one run for about 4 yards, completely laid the wood and knocked the dude out. I liked our running backs all night. I thought, just again, Mike Norvell kind of, for whatever reason, they don't trust it. I feel like this offense gets itself in so many holes throwing the ball, and it's like you hear the announcers, oh, they actually ran for it again on first down. I'd like to see what the average is of the yards per carry on first down is for this offense, because so many times you throw it on first down and you're incomplete or you're sacked for a 2-yard loss, and then you run it and it's telegraphed. You can see it from the bleachers. It's telegraphed, and then somebody gets no yard. But you turn around, you hand it off on first down, then you get a big passing play behind that, and what do? You run up and you throw it to three times in a row, and you're off the field. So I don't know. I don't claim to be smarter than any coaches that coach at this high level, anybody that played the game at a high level. It just seems to me, low snap counts, limited possessions, all these things, just have a little, even if you only get 4 yards, you run for 2 yards both plays. It makes everything easier for Luke and things of that nature. When you got a true freshman quarterback out there, and you can just see it at times, when they blitz, it's hard for him to handle it unless he breaks out and runs. And I think they'll do those things. I'm not going to make it to 10 minutes. I lied. We're at 8 minutes and 49 seconds. Toafili, I'm going to reach out. I haven't been bothering sources and doing too much the last couple weeks because you guys are tired of hearing the bullshit from practice, and this guy said this and this player meeting happened and all that stuff. Guys, it's to the point where, that shit's going on deaf ears. I'm not going to – we've had all the conversations about the different coaching staff moves that could possibly happen in the offseason and things of that nature. But as far as my pet peeve and the one thing I've really been bitching about, I think he got 6 carries tonight before garbage time. Lawrence Toafili, he's up over 4, close to 5 yards a carry on the year. I alluded to it earlier on the one drive in the second half where it looked like they had something going. He comes out, big run on first down, and that's it. Then it's Keziah. Keziah continues to do well, gets you downfield, and then you get in a critical situation and you throw a true freshman out there. It's like people are begging to see Llewellyn McCoy, Elijah Moore, these tight ends, because these wide receivers, They've been trouble. All these seniors, Portier, Malik Benson, they haven't been making the catches. So, like, I get he's kind of had a cattle prod stuck to his back, kind of forced him to play these young guys. They've been putting forth effort. He gets hounded by the press. But, like, Danzy, like, how is that the play you get a Danzy a straight up? I'm not sure if it was a stretch or what, but every week I have to listen to the announcers agreeing with me, and I get they don't cover Florida State full time. A lot of the times, the stuff the announcers say is stupid, but I, to me, to this day, Lawrence Toafili is the best player on the offense, and for whatever reason, they don't want to give him the carry. So, yeah, somebody says Lawrence must be hurt. It's got to be it. He's got to have been dinged up since camp or something. But what I don't understand is he gets tons of snaps. He had 50 snaps last week. Yeah, I'm not sure how many snaps exactly got this week, but I don't know if it wins you the game. But I just feel like with how things keep falling apart, all these issues that happen, um, every time you hand Toafili the ball, I have no worries. I don't feel like there's about to be a pick six or this or that outside of a holding or something. But yeah, Maury Smith. I know everybody hammers the offensive line. I've probably done it less than all the other channels, all the people on my channel, just because it is what it is. It's a horse that is dead and beaten. They went with their 8th different offensive line unit. I believe the 7th one they've started a game with this game. You get Robert Scott in at left tackle because Darius is out. Early continue to improve. You get to see him. Jacob Rizzi gets to start, I believe, at right guard. I could have the guards flipped, but it is what it is on the offensive line. But Maury Smith, man, as a guy that's got 3,000 snaps or whatever it is, been here forever, year after year, he keeps beating everybody out. You bring in these guys in the portal, he beats them out. Guys out of high school beats him out, keeping all these young guys off the field. And for whatever reason, like there's been some bad snaps and things in history. I have to go back and look at the advanced statistics, but like it's unreal. I can't remember the exact play, but it might have been like Toafili's second rush or somebody else was running it. But the running play got ruined because it was a high snap and it threw everything off. Yeah, more bad snaps, breakouts again on the offensive line. But again, like I think the best thing for this offensive line would be more run calls and handing the ball to Toafili more. But for whatever reason that isn't happening. Maybe it's injuries, maybe I'm beating a dead horse. Um, but yeah, as far as the defense goes, I want to sit here and say, yeah, the defense did enough for us to win this game. The first drive that Miami came out, of course, they freaking up the field quick. That first scripted drive was tough. They cut through us like a knife through butter. But after that, for a good whatever it is, 20 minutes of the game, it feels like you only gave up 10 points. You're doing pretty damn good. It was 14-7. You had all the chances in the world to close that off. You never did. They end up getting another touchdown and or another field goal and another field goal. And at a certain point, just like Duke last week, it looks like but Mario and them watched that Duke tape and they were content to just let FSU's offense lose it for themselves. No, people aren't going to love the defensive play calling, and it obviously didn't work on the first drive. They gave up those gashes and that touchdown quick. But basically, and it's kind of what I alluded to on the show, what was going to happen, like they just said, all right, Miami, you're going to have to beat us running the ball because we're going to dare you to throw it with Cam Ward and try to bait you into a pick six, turnovers, and things of that nature. And I will give Cam Ward this. I wanted Cam Ward from the jump. That's the guy that I wanted out of the portal. I thought he was the best portal quarterback available. I didn't think Miami was a great fit for him due to the kind of offense that Cristobal ran tonight, and what Cam Ward has done in his career does not match. He would throw up picks. He would force the ball, make mistakes in the past. Kudos to him. Shouts out to the Miami people. He did not do that tonight. And he sat there and he was pissed off. He was slamming the damn slamming the pad, whatever you call it. I want to call it an iPad, but I want to say their Windows Surface or something like that. He slams the tablet down. He was pissed because he wasn't getting off. I don't know what his stats were, maybe 200 yards, something like that. Patted him a little bit there in garbage time when you had Mario going for it on fourth down and going for 2 points and everything like that. Hey, that's cool, man. I get it. It still wasn't no damn 45-3 though, buddy. We got our touchdown. So take that, Miami fans. Take that, people that I owe a bet to and stuff. I'm sure there's probably a guy on Twitter already saying that I'm welching on a bet, this and that. Dude, I'm on my post-game show. I pay my bets. So when the guy comes with his little tweet and confirms it, I'll make my off-season bet hole. I hope a bunch of guys didn't lose money out there like I did. I learned my lesson from time to time making these bets in the off season, but I don't know. I think I've came out on the good end of it. Florida fans, back in the Jimbo days, they would bet every year in the off season. So I racked up there for a couple of years. But yeah, again, if you're just joining us, welcome to the FSU Voice of College Football Instant Reaction Show. It's also simulcast over on my channel at the Renegade Report. Whether you're there, whether you're here, FSU Voice of College Football, you're out here in the barn with George and the dogs and the horses and everybody else, just hit the like, hit the subscribe. We would really, really appreciate it. Sorry to the comments. I've been trying to give you guys a good monologue, try to cover most of the stuff that happened in the game. Prayers out to our guy, Ashlyn Barker. Oh, man. It was just one of those things in football where he went to go for the tackle and the running back lowered his head to protect himself at the same time. I don't even remember the guy's name. It was one of the younger running backs for Miami, either that or just a no-name guy, Ahmad something or another. Long story short, he got ear hold, and it looked really scary just the way he was, knocked out face down in the ground. So he ended up getting up, getting helped by trainers off to the side of the field. And then a beautiful young lady helped him to the locker room. It seemed like she knew what she was doing, but it was a little shaky on my TV copy. I didn't like how off balance he was, and then making him walk all the way down there. He probably didn't want to get on the cart, a pride thing. But yeah, just hoping he's all right. So prayers out there to Ashlyn Barker, number 27, the safety for Florida State. Since we mentioned him, I can talk about the DBs. Outside of that first drive, again, as I talked about, it looked like the game plan was they were not going to let Cam Moore beat him. A lot of man coverage, a lot of 4, 5, 6 guys in the box, as I talked about. I worried about Cam Ward really getting loose and the D ends losing contain. Not too much of that. The defensive ends really got decent depth and kept Cam contained. But the issue is they just couldn't get him down. Couldn't get hold. It was the craziest things. And the kind of dagger in the heart at the end of the game was one of those where he has 10 seconds back there. It really didn't matter because Nicholson held a guy, just mugged the running back. Didn't realize he was trying to get out on the route or something. But yeah, so what they did is they just ran it. They said, we're going to take what you give us, and they ran it. When we could just get ahead of the chains at all, if we could get a stop on first down, then you can see some creative stuff with Fuller in the defensive line, and that's when this team really shined, when they're able to send blitzes and get home. But the inverse of what I just talked about on the early downs, where we're running man, the DBs are doing great, and the defensive line was doing just good enough against the run to get to some third downs. They ended up getting off the field a few times. The issue was when we would get ourselves to 3rd and 22, 3rd and 17, whatever the case may be, is that they drop down. They stop what they're doing. They stop running the man coverage with the 6, 7 guys in the box, a linebacker or 2 blitzing. And then they go to straight, man and 4 guys on the line of scrimmage. And then Cam Ward's sitting there all day long, maybe parts the sea, whatever the case may be. But you leave a Heisman candidate, a leader in the Heisman race, with 10 seconds. And yeah, he's either going to take off and run or he's going to hit a pass. I don't know why I got the baby blue sky in the background. I'll fix that in a minute while my guy here goes on a soliloquy. My guy, Tiny Hat CEO, a.k.a. @EnderPope on Twitter, joins us, man. A little different than our normal show, but, man, go off. This is FSU Miami. I appreciate you giving me a breath here
Oh yeah,
What's on your mind, man?
oh yeah. First off, Tiny Hat Gang, we in here. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Um, I ain't gonna go off too much. I called it. We all knew that this was gonna be a L. What we wanted to see for pretty much the majority of the season after the BS that we saw at the beginning was that we wanted to see what the young guys are gonna look like. We wanted to see some fight out of these boys. And when I saw this game, first off, Luke coming in, the very first note that I wrote in my notes when I watched the game was Luke, because Luke looks like what we all wanted Brock Glenn to be when he stepped in for DJ. Luke came in, he looked comfortable back there. He was making the right reads at the beginning. He was using his legs more than anything. It was fire. I like what I saw at Luke. But overall, I think that we had Miami went right down the field on that first drive. Luke came in and he led that nice little drive that we had to give us those points. We did get behind, but there's just a lot of the miscues. Luke did miss Portier wide open, streaking down the middle of the field on that play. But again, that was because the O line couldn't hold up. The O
You're
line
holding
was
onto a Philly as well.
absolutely, absolutely. The officiating in this game was terrible. The O line in this game was terrible. Luke did the best that he could with what he had. You can see that he doesn't have the confidence in all of the receivers. We did have a couple of drops in this game again, leading the nation in that once again. But what I saw out of this team is just the same thing that we saw all season long. If anything, coming out of this game, it gives me more. If I'm looking at this game overall, I say that Florida State legitimately had a shot to win this game if you can have an O line hold up and if you had receivers that were worth a damn. The run game, of course, is always going to be stuck, but we rushed better in this game than we did at any point in the season. When I look at just overall, this game right here lets us know that the coaching staff that we have is failing these players. A lot of these upperclassmen are failing this team. And there's just some scratching decisions that I keep seeing over and over and over again. And that's before we get to the penalties. That's before we get to the fact that they're not switching anything up. At one point in the third quarter, I said, if I'm Mike, at this point, you got nothing to lose when he started going forward on fourth down. I said, all right, so since you're playing like you have nothing to lose, then what you should be doing is put your young receivers out wide, put Weezy on one side, put Moore on the other side, put Amari Williams or put Landon Thomas in the slot, put Jakai in the slot, and you just run that same two-man game on one side, and you throw the wheel routes on the other side because this Miami secondary is food. And we didn't see them start to go to the tight end until the very end of the game when Amari Williams caught that ball streaking down the middle of the field wide open. That play was there to be had all night long. That Miami front seven is fraud. I don't give a damn what they want to say. They told us that front seven was going to be great. That front seven is fraud. It's fraud. That those DBs are absolute ass on Miami side. Pardon my French. I think that Miami team, y'all can be happy that you've won all your games. Y'all be happy that you are undefeated. You don't control who's on the field in front of you. But if I am a Miami fan coming out of that game, I'm not happy about what I saw, because when you go up against the upper echelon of college football, when you go up against the Texas, a Georgia, an Ohio State, a Penn State, one of these teams that's going to actually be able to put up points and play defense, you are going to get run off the field. That's just what's going to happen. So that's what I came away from this game looking at. Florida State didn't show me anything outside of Luke being the lightning in the bottle. They didn't show me anything else that I was happy with. I'm just ready for this season to be over. We got UNC, a tough game against UNC next week, who can hang 45 on us if they want to. The Miami offense was able to run right up the middle of that defense. If Mario wanted to, he could have ran the ball every single play and they would have got 6 yards of carry, and there was nothing that we would be able to do about it because our front seven is just that bad outside of Omar Graham. And I do want to give a shout out to Omar Graham, because Omar Graham is getting that Jarian Jones treatment. Nobody wanted 9 on the field the entire first half of this season, and 9 has come back with a vengeance, just like Jarian Jones did, where he went out there, he put in the work. You can see that he's getting better and he's ready to go. So hats off to Miami. Even though I hate all of y'all, there's nothing good coming out of Coral Gables. I'm not even calling y'all Miami. I'm sorry about that to all of the Florida State faithful. Hats off to Coral Gables. Y'all did what y'all was supposed to do against a lesser opponent. But for Florida State, I'm just ready for the season to be over. I want to see what type of staff changes Mike is going to make. I want to see who this OC is that he's supposed to be getting in here. I want to see what that's going to look like. I want to see what these young guys can do for the rest of the season to get prepared for next season. And that's just where I am with this. So tonight kind of went the way that I thought it was going to go. I thought Miami was going to try to hang 50 on us. They didn't. And it's not because they didn't try. I think they legitimately were trying to force some things to try to make some things happen, and it didn't work that way. Like how we locked up
our hands. They didn't. Right. They weren't gonna throw it. Like that's one of the things I said right before you got on here. Like one of my issues. Like I was always a Cam Ward guy. I always thought he was the best guy in the portal. He's who I wanted first. But I said it wasn't the weird match with Jimbo, excuse me, Mario down there, because he'll just run the ball like when you're supposed to be taking a knee or when anybody else would pass it. He'll keep pushing his luck. He's always kind of hurt quarterbacks like that. And it's like it puts Cam Ward in a situation like imagine Jameis Winston with Mario Cristobal. Oh my God, he throws 60 picks. Yeah. So that's kind of how I thought. But aside of that estimation and kind of a hope that you had for Florida State, maybe you get a pick six, maybe they throw some picks like that. He didn't press. To your point, they had the stuff out there, but he either threw it away or he ran it. And like you said, they could have ran it all night long. I think that's what they did. They said, look, we're going to our 5 or 6 guys, we're going to put it up. We're going to hope we can stop the run, but we're not going to give up the big passes. They did that, but the offense didn't do its job. Luke, I will say, his clock is faster. Like if it's not there and the pocket's breaking down, he gets out there in time to make a play and run. Let me read this before I forget and give it right back to you. I won't troll you all tonight coming from Base Gear and a $20 super chat. Really appreciate you, bro. Y'all got something in Luke, and y'all should not be 1-7 with that defense. I respect the pettiness to play, not to get blown out by Mike too. Appreciate you, bro. And yeah, it's that was a big man of you to not come in here trolling off the top rope. But yeah, go ahead. And I got a million other things to stay back, but I had to interrupt you there for a second.
Oh yeah, but nah. So but Jiren did hit on something. And I'm going to slightly disagree with that because I don't think Mike didn't play not to lose or not to get blown out. Mike legitimately went into this game. You could see with the play calling and the way that he was doing things. He was like, no, we gonna take it to him and we gonna see what we can do out here. It's just that the offense it does not click. Luke came in with something different after Brock went out there and looked plebeian, and Luke was a spark. And he said, oh, okay, we got something here. Let's see if we can push this. Let's see where it goes. That's why when he comes out in the second half and he's treating every series as a 4-down series. I said, okay, so Mike really come into play. He started to go a little bit up tempo. He started to hit the backs out of the backfield. He started to let Luke, try to move the ball down the field. It's just that, players either dropped the ball or we had a devastating holding penalty or some nonsense happen that stalled out those drives. But
for the most part, offsides could be called off by a hold when if the guy didn't hold him, it's unabated to the quarterback, but they didn't blow the whistle. Like, how the fuck does a hold? I know, I guess it's in the rule book. I didn't even look it up because if ESPN and nobody even, blinked at it, that's got to be the rule. But if he blocked him, it's a false start. So he sees a freaking guy going at the franchise, a true freshman. So he holds, and somehow that goes against FSU. That really pissed me off. Yeah,
that was an offsetting, which was annoying because they didn't call numerous holds that we saw out of Miami on this night. So many holding plays. Hell, there was that one play I want to say it was in the third quarter where Cam Ward's running out there, and we watched 3 different Florida State players get held, and then they called defensive holding on one of our linebackers. And I'm
we started getting called right garbage time.
And they started giving us something. So that the refs in this game were piss poor at best. So I'm not even fretting on that. I did see somebody in the chat say, "Is Luke the guy moving forward?" I think tonight was an unequivocal yes. It would not surprise me at all if we saw Mike start to trot Luke out there more. It wouldn't surprise me if in the offseason we hear that there's an open competition for the position, and we hear that Luke is taking over for Brock, taking over the position from Brock. Would not surprise me if I hear that Brock hits the portal. There's a lot of stuff that I can see, but Luke legitimately stepped in tonight and showed that if Mike would have done what we have been calling for Mike to do since the second game of the season, since that second half of that Boston College game, if he went to the young guys and let those young guys go in when he saw that their option A was not working, I think that we have a completely different ball game on our hands because Luke and Brock have more than 2 games under their belt. They probably have 5 games under their belt by this point, and then we have a bigger showdown. And that's why when I'm looking at this game, that's what pissed me off more than anything was the fact that we have been calling for this youth movement for so long. Get a different quarterback in there. Get the young receivers in there. Put the young tight ends out there. Give the ball to RB1, which you have been screaming on this channel here and on this show here for weeks. Give the ball to Toafili and let him go. If Mike does that sooner, 3 or 4 games ago, now we're going into this Miami game, going up against a high-powered offense with more arrows in our quiver. We're able to actually put up points against these boys. Now, I'm not saying that the O-line is going to miraculously get better. I mean, I think they said we started with our eighth iteration of the O-line this season because of injuries. So the O-line may not have held up. But from what we've seen from this Miami team over this last 3 or 4 weeks here, they can put up points on you, but they can be God. We saw Virginia Tech almost get him. We saw Cal almost get him. We saw Louisville almost get him. And tonight, the first half of this game, Florida State has a just an average offense. We put up 21 to 28 points on that defense, and then Cam Ward comes out and does his thing. But I was more upset at some of the technique that I saw. I was upset that it looked like our defensive game plan was just as basic as you can get it to be. Miami didn't look like they were rushed at all. Miami didn't look like it was stuff that they hadn't seen before. Miami just missed plays. Cam Ward missed a few people. The one thing I will say outside of Luke, my biggest highlight on this game was the fact that we locked Restrepo up once again, 3rd year in a row, and Lil Restrepo can't get out of them handcuffs. We had that boy handcuffed like he was on an episode of Cops out here. Restrepo don't do that against Florida State. We used to that. That little whip route he always running, we stay ready for that. Cam Ward started trying to force him the ball, and that's why y'all kept getting them 3 and outs. That's why Cam Ward was looking pissed off when he was walking off the field on a 4th and 3, because he knows he has these other guys open, but he was trying to force it to Restrepo all night, and that was what was causing y'all problems. He wasn't able to take off for the big runs because our defensive tackles can't get any push. So when he does step up into the pocket, he's stepping right back to where our sorry D tackles are standing. So I wasn't really I wasn't really impressed by anything that I saw out of Miami. I was even more pissed off at what I saw from our offense because we should have had more reps with this squad that we rolled out there tonight if Mike Norvell pulls the trigger sooner. And like I said, 4 weeks ago, it's not about this season. This season's been a wash since we lost to Georgia. Some people will say since we lost to Georgia Tech. I'm going to say this season was a loss after the first half of that Boston College game. I'm looking more for the future of the program, and I think we found a future at the quarterback position with Luke. The future at the running back position was out this game. Our future wide receivers, they made a couple of nice plays, had a couple of drops, but they're young, so you expect that. And we didn't even see. We really only saw our one tight end, who is also going to be one of the future key pieces on this offense, make one big play down the middle of the field, which was open all night long. It was open all night long. We just never threw the ball to the tight end at all in this game. So I think the future of the program looks okay. We bring in some more pieces, but Mike's got to get this coaching staff adjusted. We saw that's another thing. Did you touch on the fact that Mike looked like he was about to start barking at his coaches for once that we've seen? Like it looked like Mike looked at Fuller. He was just like, "Hey, bro."
Pooches, and it was the staffer first, then it was the Pooches, and then he was in Fuller's ear. I don't know what he said. I'm sure it was really colorful, but I was good with that. I was happy to see that, because get mad, holy shit. And to speak on the defense, the chat's talking about it. I totally see your side of it, and to give credence to your side, it's hard to judge the defense on how they played and sacks and things when there's no pressure on the offense. They're not put in these positions that are critical, but to a certain extent, they can hurt the defense, because when the offense is like, we don't even got to score a touchdown, we can just settle for this and that. So it's kind of tough. But what I will say, I understand the game plan they went with. I predicted it on the show Friday. They were just going to force them to run
And so with that game plan, I mean, it really worked. It's 14-7. You get the ball out coming out of half. If you score, one of the two or the three times that you're supposed to, if you can ever have a lead in the game, then all of a sudden on 3rd and 7, they're trying to pass it. They're not just going to hand it off and get a halfback draw that goes for 8 yards. And Cam Ward maybe throws a pick. You get more big plays because the defensive backs, for the most part, played pretty damn well. Knowles got beat one time by Restrepo, I think. But, I mean, Fintrell played damn well. AZ played well in coverage, not so much in tackling as he kind of has all year. Liked what we saw out of the young Earl Little Jr. He wasn't playing great in coverage, didn't have many tests, but, man, he was a missile coming downhill. So Surtain had those guys coached up and things, but, like, that doesn't work. You're not going to have a chance to win playing that defense with the offense that we have. And we kept talking about it. We didn't have the crazy drops this game. It's not all on that. So shout out to Kyle Morlock for being clutch the past two games. They've shrunk his role, and it's been better. My biggest thing that I want to hear from you on is, and you already touched on it with Toafili, I've been trying to lay off of that because I don't know. The guy must be hurt is the reason they won't hand him to. He got like 6 carries tonight again. Pisses me off. They finally bring the Wildcat off, and they snap it to Ja'Kai both times. I don't know what backwards world I'm living in. But take Toafili out of it. Just running backs, period. The good drive we had in the second half that we stalled out, didn't kick the field goal, and ended up turning it over, starts off with a good Toafili run. And then after that, Keziah takes off, and then they take him out and put somebody else in. And then they put on the penultimate down that we needed to make something happen, they stick the true freshman, Mekhi Danzy. That's not a youth movement. That was popular at the beginning of the season. But, like, why do we have to play 4 and 5 running backs on every freaking drive? Like, I don't stick with Keziah for a whole drive. Stick with Lawrence Toafili for a whole drive. I don't understand the need. I feel like they need to have, like, everybody fresh and get the ultimate out of every play. And, like, since we're so bad, you need to, like, really try to make something happen, have a guy be able to score a touchdown. But to a certain point, I feel like they just need to, I think this offensive line likes run blocking better. They just never get an opportunity to. Not that they're great at it or anything, but you see Miami go run and they only get 1 yard, and without blinking, they run it again on 3rd down after they pass it on 2nd down. We throw it incomplete on 1st down, run it on 2nd, and then we throw it on 3rd and 4th down. It's like, or we run it, opens up the pass game, we get a 1st down, and we throw it 3 times. So with the freshman quarterbacks, I don't understand why you don't just take your 2 yards of play, even if it's only going to be 2 yards. The dude averages 4.5 yards a rush, but I'm just saying, take your 3 yards because he's going to get you that. He's shown you that.
Right. And it was really annoying because this was the best rushing game that we had on the season. We had 133 rushing yards, 4.8 yards per rush. This was the best rushing game that we had all season long, and that's against what we were told was the best front seven that we were going to see on the season. Miami's front seven was supposed to be this all-world beater. We weren't supposed to be able to block them at all, but we were able to scheme some things up so that we could get out of there. And you're right, it seemed like when certain players would get in a rhythm, they would just swap them out, and it does not make sense. But I want to circle back to something because I saw somebody in the chat say that they were impressed with the Miami rushing offense. This Florida State D-line has been giving up 5 to 6 yards per carry on the season. Miami tonight, 5.8 yards per rush. So if you had the Mario offense from last year where you just ran the ball 3 times or ran the ball 2 times and then did a play action pass or whatever the case may be, you still would have won this game hands down. I mean, the time of possession in the game, y'all had 35 minutes of time of possession? We had 24. So even when you look at just the simple metrics, Miami could have legitimately just run the ball up the middle all game long, and they would have got 6 yards per rush. And there was nothing that Florida State was going to do with it. So I'm not even impressed with the Miami rushing offense because that's what everybody does to this Florida State team. Hell, we saw SMU and Memphis do the exact same thing.
When you drop 6 guys in coverage, I mean, it's fucking new. They're going to run it.
Like,
and
there's nothing there. And the Fuller defense is so predictable. It's 3rd and 10, and everybody is playing 10 yards off. It's 3rd and 3, and you got one side of the field playing 7 yards off. You got the other side of the field playing 5 yards off. So Cam Ward's able to hit wide open slants for 7 yards, first down. That
Kid free.
was
Like
the
they're not
same
used to
thing.
repping it or something. Like just run the same shit you've been running. Throw extra safety back there or something. But it's like it's crazy how it never ceases to fail. You lose a running back somehow because you're trying to run safe instead of just putting a fucking man on a man. I'm sorry, Mark Rogers. I will put $5 in the swear bucket.
But yeah,
And I've been telling Tiny Hat if he comes on here, we got to keep it PG-13. I knew I was going to be
here. I
wrong.
am. I'm the clean one. Yeah. And I'm the clean one out here. And you in the old dirty barn. Get it together, bro. But no, the game tonight went pretty much how I thought it was going to go. The one thing that I will say Fuller did do was that they had a lot of 2 high and a lot of 3 high. So they weren't going to give Cam Ward the over the top stuff. But the underneath stuff that he was throwing, it was all slants. It was all quick outs. It wasn't anything spectacular. And for the most part, his big passing plays came when our defensive ends, who I don't know what they're being coached to do, but when I was coached and played D tackle, I was always told if you have a running quarterback, your defensive ends to keep contained, you run 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. You don't try to rush 5 yards up and try to
They'd had him contained, but that motherfucker was bouncing like a pinball in between them.
No. But here's Brett. This is what I'm saying. Cam Ward, for as good as he is, Cam Ward is very predictable with his scrambles. All right. Cam Ward's scrambles work the same way. He gets the ball, he drops back. The defensive ends rush upfield to try to catch him at the top of his drop back. He steps up and he always runs either right between the tackle and the DN, or to the left between the tackle and the DN. When you have a player like that is predictable in the way that he is going to rush out of the pocket, what you do as a defensive end is you push up 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, or you get even with the quarterback and you work your way inside and back to the line of scrimmage. Our DNs all night long, whether it was 11, whether it was 1, it didn't matter who it was. They all just kept rushing 5 yards out, and they left these wide open holes for him to get there. Yep. And I kept saying this over and over. I'm like, this is poor technique. This is a poor game plan on the defensive side of the ball with that D line. And if you know that your D tackles are not going to get any push, then you as a defensive end have to know, let me press up and crash. That way, even if Ward does try to scramble, he's either going to try to go around me outside, at which point your tackle is either going to hold me or he's going to run directly into me, or you push him back toward the pocket so that your D tackles who get no push can just kind of get a hand up if they can when he throws the ball. We didn't do that at all. And the few times that we did sack Cam Ward, they did exactly what I just laid out. The defensive ends went up 2 yards, they crashed in, and then they were able to force him back inside to the D tackles who got the sacks. That's what it was. I don't have to stop it. I'm telling you exactly what it is. That's what happened tonight. Cam Ward did not break off on any long, crazy runs like that because we did what we were supposed to do by keeping him in the pocket.
That could be his worst game of the year. I'm pretty sure by a long shot.
This was a game where he was supposed to have another Heisman breakout type game where they're going to, glaze him like they've been doing all season. He didn't have it. The one highlight play they're going to talk about, oh my God, now he can catch a pass for a touchdown. And they had to call that BS trick play in the fourth quarter at the end of the game because he could not sling the ball to anybody. How many passing touchdowns did Cam Ward have in this game? How many passing touchdowns did he hit? Did he hit any bombs over the top? Did he hit anybody for a nice quick slant and a run up field so that they could get to the end zone? No. The Florida State DBs were locking them boys up outside of the first drive of the game where they picked on Cypress and they just kept throwing the ball outside. But outside of that one drive, they were locking them up all game. So for anybody to say, hey, Cam Ward's doing X, Y, and Z, he didn't do that against us. And I know he wanted to do it because you could see him pressing. He's arguing with his own OC on the sideline. They calling in plays. You could see him checking out of the plays as soon as they came in. He was trying to force the ball to Restrepo because he wants Restrepo to have a big game against Florida State because he hasn't done it yet against Florida State. You could see it on that entire offensive side of the ball from Miami. They got out of the game plan that normally worked for them, and Florida State made them work for the points that they did get, which was why they had more field goals in this game than they had all season. They didn't put up any crazy numbers on us until the very end of the game when they started to run the ball, get back to their bread and butter that everybody does against this Florida State defense, which is run the ball right up the middle, get your 5 or 6 yards until the defense gets tired, and then Damian Martinez can break off a 12-yard run up the middle for a touchdown. That's what everybody does against this Florida State defense, which is why we're all pissed off all season long. All right, so that's real talk. That's exactly what it is. I don't have to make it up. I'm telling you what happened in the game. And if you don't like it, that's what it is. Now, if you want to talk about what happened in the game, it's more about how trash Florida State's offense was. Miami was pressing all night. Y'all caused yourself not to have 40 points. But Florida State has been absolute poo on a stick for this entire season. So
shout out to our guy Bobby, the realistic Canes fan. Yeah, well, whatever, dude. We might be roasting some Miami fans for getting some little moral victories, but we got to talk about this shit. When you're 1-7, you got to talk about it all. And I will say this: Cam Ward certainly did not get his Heisman moment against us.
I mean,
even though we sucked, there was no like he outlooted a few tackles and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of comparisons. The 23 FSU and this Miami team and things of that nature. We sure helped their defensive stats for the year, but we didn't help their offensive stats any. If you want to call it a moral victory or whatever, just calling a spade a spade. The defense, as I've said all year, and it's hard to tell. Like, we haven't seen them in crunch mode. Maybe they would just give up the touchdown to lose, even if we scored points. But I mean, if you just score 20 points on offense, that's not counting special teams touchdowns and things of that nature. You got a chance in all these games we played. And if we would have put any kind of pressure on Miami to throw the ball against this defense, that's the problem with this defense. It just does not work if you cannot force the other team to throw the ball. And we couldn't. We could stop the run enough to force them to throw the ball, but we couldn't score the points. And then you're never going to stop the run in the fourth quarter. And unless you've got Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, how we had it last year, you're not going to just completely shut people down with a 4-man rush. And I hate to bring it back to my biggest problem with Adam Fuller. It's doing that crap on third down where you send 4, because you just end up with a quarterback down there for 10 minutes and he's either going to get holding or he's going to complete a pass, especially when it's Cam Ward. I don't know why I'd rather give up a pass in the seam and the dude fights for a first down than just give up a wide open broken play. But I'll shut up for a second. Who knows? I don't know. I can't do a call-in. We're not going to do a call-in. I think it would get too colorful. But anyway, we're about 13 minutes left on the show. I really appreciate you joining Tiny House.
Absolutely. I couldn't have you up here again by yourself. Nah, you need somebody to bounce off of. Well, okay, you can bounce off me just like that Miami linebacker bounced off Sam Singleton when he dropped his shoulder. His chest.
That was nasty, wasn't it?
It was fantastic, baby. It was fantastic. But I will say this though. Bobby did say in the chat, flip the script. I would be roasting a Miami fan. I don't roast people. I don't roast people if they're giving me real talk. I roast people when they're out here with the delusion. The Shames fans are already in my mentions. The Shames fans are already in my group chats. The Shames fans are already all over the place talking reckless. Oh, we beat y'all. I'm like, I told y'all was gonna beat us, and y'all didn't look like world beaters. Again, Miami went up against one of the worst teams in college football tonight. One of the worst teams in college football. And your Heisman candidate quarterback did not have the game that y'all thought he was going to have. He didn't have it. And he did not have it because of what Florida State was doing to that offense on the night. Our DBs were locking up your receivers. Your best receiver got locked up. Your second best receiver got locked up. Your running game is what won you this game. And it's not hard for you to have a great running game against this team, because this Florida State team does not stop the run against anybody. The only team this season that can legitimately say that Florida State locked them up on the run is Cal. Georgia Tech ran all over us. Boston College ran all over us. SMU ran all over us. Who else was it? Memphis ran all over us. You take your pick. They all had very high yards per rush on us. So for you guys to have a 5.8 yards per rush on us, that's par for the course at this point, right? The one thing that I will say is that y'all should be more PO'd about your defense. about your secondary, because our true freshman quarterback was picking your secondary apart if we have receivers that can catch the ball and get separation. If we have one decent receiver that can get separation, Luke Kromenhoek is lighting y'all up. So
How
your
big would
Heisman,
Destin Hill have been this year? I
right,
feel like
right. It's
Destin Hill,
hilarious.
that loss looms large.
Right.
Just
It's
what we saw in
hilarious.
spring games and practice footage and stuff, he's on a
Mhm.
different level of catching the ball and making stuff happen yards after catch. But yeah,
Mhm.
Luke, that wheel route to Ja'Kai, like
Mhm.
I think he was shocked. He was just like, "Holy shit, it's in my hands."
Yep. Like,
He's
look at Cam Ward.
he's the
Look at
future for
Cam
sure.
Ward on the even. 22 of 35, 208 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's not the Cam Ward that everybody has been glazing all season long. That's not that Cam Ward. Now look at Luke Kromenhoek, 6 for 14, 61 yards. I mean, he's a true freshman, and he was leading this offense down the field. That man rushed for 71 yards. Our true freshman quarterback rushed for 71 yards on your all-world, top of the ACC, almost best in the country front seven. Our true freshman quarterback took off for 71 yards on y'all. So if anything, the Shames fans need to be more worried about what their defense is doing if this Florida State offense can do that. I don't want to hear rivalry game. I don't want to hear it, because when one team is historically bad and the other team is good, usually the team who is historically bad gets their behinds kicked. Just like when we hung 52 on y'all, just like when y'all got us out the paint when we had Taggart here and y'all hung all of them points on us, just like when y'all had the 01 Canes and y'all dominated us, just like when we had the 2013 FSU squad. We bust y'all behinds. That's just what it is. So for y'all to have an all-world team that's supposed to be top 10, that's one of the best teams in the country, and for you to not be able to thoroughly dominate this Florida State team, that's more of a referendum. That's more of an indictment on y'all, because y'all should have hung 45 points on us. And for this game to be as tight as it was for as long as it was, that lets me know that y'all got a lot more problems, and that lets me know that the problem that we have is that our coaching staff did not recognize these changes that should have been made sooner in the season. That's my problem. Mike should have been able to evaluate and see, we need to go to some of these young guys. We need to adjust what we're doing. We need to go up tempo. We need to go short passes. We need to go comeback routes. We need to make the game simpler for our players. I didn't say it was tight. I said it was tighter than it should have been. Get
It
it
was tight
together
into the
on the
second
way.
half, but they can talk shit. It was a tight ball game. They kicked the
Right.
field
Get it
goal
together.
to go up 10 points at the end of the half, and we
Right.
got the ball back. So
Right.
they can eat a dick. And when we were driving, we had a chance. But I
Right.
guess I got ready. I got started setting up the show when Miami was going to score the last time. So maybe you can fill me in. I guess, what, did Brock score a touchdown on that last drive or something? Somebody said we scored 14.
Yeah, he threw a touchdown at the end.
Who did he throw a touchdown?
I want to say he threw it to Benson.
Okay.
He threw it to Portier the first time. He dropped it, and then they ran the exact same play, but they swapped Portier and Benson, and he threw it to Benson, and it hit him in the hands. He caught
So
it.
what's the final score?
36-14.
36-14. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
missed the last two touchdowns. Well, I'll take that.
Yeah. So he threw
Okay.
that down to Benson. Benson caught it in the end zone, the corner of the end zone, front corner of the end zone. So it was straight. It was straight. Yeah, Weezy did drop one. I know that Luke did miss Portier streaking wide open down the field on the play where they held Ja'Kai. I'm sorry, not Ja'Kai, Toafili.
Yeah.
If they don't hold them or they throw the flag on that play, that's 15 yards. But if they don't hold them, Toafili is streaking down the side of the field, potentially for a touchdown.
I feel like Luke seen that. I think he thought he was going to get that flag. I don't know, but he had somebody hot too. It's so hard on those plays when there's people hot to get to that second read, but it seems like quite often you have one of those in this offense.
Yep.
Maybe they can work on figuring out how to identify that better, because you don't even have to make a good throw there. You could just lob it up, like I'm talking about like middle school flag football style, and he's going to be able to get to that.
If you go back and watch that play, Portier is so wide open that the only person that was even within 15
Nobody
to 20
on that
yards
side
of him was the umpire. That was it. If he just lofts that ball over there to him, there was nobody within 15 to 20 yards of him. But it looked like he had already just decided to go with the first read, and Toafili would have been open if he was not held at the line when he was coming around the line of scrimmage. So That's just what it was. So overall, the game went better for us than I thought it was going to go. Miami didn't do anything spectacular. I thought that they were kind of pressing. So that's just where it is. I am happy. Everything I should see, every piece of Florida State media, every article, everything should be. They should have two topics. It should be Luke Kromenhoek steps in, lightning in a bottle, and why didn't Mike and this offensive staff realize that this kid would be able to come in and get this done sooner? That's what this should be all week long, getting ready for UNC next week, who probably is going to try to hang 40 on us next week, but we'll see what we look like at that point. But I'm thoroughly disgusted with our trenches. Facts to R. Wilmer in the chat. I'm thoroughly disgusted with our line, with our offensive line play. I still don't like the receivers. I don't like the rotations that they're doing. I don't like what they're doing with the running back position. There are some head scratchers with the play calling still. It was a little bit better tonight, but still some head scratchers there. So overall, the DBs were great. The quarterback was good. When they gave the running backs the chance to do work, they did work. So I was happy about that. But overall, it's just another L on a 1-7 season that I'm ready to get over with.
Shout out to a guy named Omar Graham Jr., number 9. He started the year, and a big part of the reason we lost to Georgia Tech, he was in for 45 snaps and did not have a stat, not a tackle for loss, not a sack, not a pass breakup, not even a half of a tackle, which is like impossible to do at linebacker. Like it's tough to do at DB or safety, like at linebacker. So I don't know if he was injured. For some reason, Juice Cryer and Nicholson couldn't get in that game due to something to do if they weren't prepared. I don't know what the hell was going on with the coaching at the beginning of the year with linebackers or who was hurt or this or that. But the past couple weeks, my man Omar Graham Jr. has been shot out of a cannon. And when we get big plays against the run, when we get big plays, against the quarterback, it's been him either making the play or shooting a gap to send somebody to allow one of these defensive ends or defensive tackles to make a play.
My God. I need some of these people that are in your chat to pull up to the roast on Monday night, because I'm telling you right now, man, some of these comments, you a better man than me, G. You a better man than me.
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm probably bad about it, and when I'm by myself, I do a better job, especially when I run out of my kind of rant of going back and forth with them. I have love for the comments, but some of that stuff you just have to. I'm pretty steeled myself to it. If it's a really good joke or somebody gives a really good one, I'll mention it. But
I mean, this dude's name is on the way to 6. His name is on the way to 6. Like, come on, bro. Really?
On the way to 6.
Really? He's so boy. Anyway, pull up Monday night, people. I'm getting my behind out of here.
Let them know. Let them know all about the roast and what y'all do.
Monday nights, the Renegade Roast. Monday nights, 8:30 p.m. Me and my beautiful co-host, the FSU Harley Quinn, Miss Jen Santee. All we do is just go back and forth with the chat. It's all good vibes. I have been known to light a few people up. I did let somebody know about some of the very, very embarrassing things that me and his mother have done over the in the midnight hours quite a few times. So come up. We have a great time. It's all fun. We don't just talk about Florida State. We talk about everything in college football. But we just roast everybody. So Monday nights, 8:30, pull up. It's fun.
The roast was originally meant to be just that, a roast of all of college football from a FSU point of perspective. So there's always going to be, roasting moments from FSU, all our different, rivals, conference opponents, things of that nature. Just so happened we launched the thing this summer, all the conference people adding. We went through all the teams, roasted all them. When you're 1-7, it's hard to ignore roasting your own team. So it's kind of turned into that. I think it's confused people a little bit, but it's for everybody. Like we've got a bunch of Miami fans, Texas fans, Tennessee fans,
Tennessee people come up there. It's fun. It's fun.
So definitely come check that out every Monday at 8:30 Eastern. Jen has been super, super busy with the work. It's been bye week. Everything's down the dumps. I'm trying not to do like 6 shows a week of just crying and moaning and bitching about the team. But we're going to get it going. We're going to keep covering the team.
it won't be long before we're talking about court cases and recruiting and what coaches are getting hired and which ones are getting fired. It's going to get real. We're going to do a lot more content. But again, thanks to Tiny Hat for joining us. Make sure you're subscribed right here at the FSU Voice of College Football. And I'm not sure. It'll probably be the next show to look for will be the roast on Monday for those that are asking in the chat. Then we'll probably do a show Tuesday and Friday this coming up week. But again, Voice of College Football, FSU Voice of College Football at the Renegade Report. Go follow my guy Tiny Hat at Ender Pope on Twitter, and I'll find a video to take us off into the sunset.
Yeah, go Noles, baby.
Somewhere. I'll find it.